Hi, everybody. I'm Corey Miller with the Back Porch Writer Show, and this is brand new for the Back Porch Writer Show, being here on Blab IM. Normally, I do this as an audio podcast over on Blog Talk Radio every week at 9:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, and it's a live show. But this is special because there is a convention going on all weekend called the Brain to Books CyberCon, and you can access all the information in the links in the chat room. I put some links there that you can follow. But go over to Goodreads and look for Brain to Books CyberCon 2016, and you'll see a fairground where you can access all kinds of amazing things that are going on all weekend long. There's author interviews, not just here on Blab, but on other platforms. There are takeover events over on Facebook where you can participate and have fun with some different authors and participate in giveaways and get some good swag and all that jazz. Be lots of fun. And then there are blog hops. There's all just an amazing amount of stuff happening this weekend. So go check out Brain to Books over on Goodreads and look for the fairgrounds, and you'll see all of the information. Now in the chat, I have a link. If you scroll up, you'll see a link that tells you all the interviews that'll be happening today and then tomorrow. They actually started yesterday for my Blab interviews. There were a few last night. All of the interviews will be posted on the Back Porch Writer Show YouTube page. So check that out. They'll be pretty long, some of them, because I'm doing these in stretches. And so today I had one at 8, but now this is going from 9 until 11:30. And so there'll be little pauses in the recording that we'll take, but essentially we're going from 9 to 11:30 with author after author after author. So that's what you'll see over on YouTube. So definitely check that out. If you have questions for the authors, all you need to do, you have two options. You can put /Q in the chat and type your question, and then it'll pop up where I can see it more clearly. That way, if it scrolls through the chat, I won't miss it because it'll pop up somewhere else. But make sure you write /Q. The other way to join is to ask for a seat at the table virtually here. You need a headset or you need earbuds and your computer mic to participate, so we don't get weird echoey feedback stuff happening during the recording. So those are two things that you can do if you want to participate that way. You also can, of course, just participate in the chat room. So those are your options. So without further ado, let me bring on and welcome Deborah Fox to the Back Porch Writer Show. Hi, Deborah. How are you?
Well, good morning. Welcome to sunny South Texas.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to be here. I'm a morning person. I don't know too many people who are up and articulate at this hour, so it's great to be here with you.
Oh, I'm a morning person. So I've been up since, 6 or something already today and just go, go, go. As I said, the first interview was at 8 o'clock this morning. And so I was up and ready to go. I would have liked to have slept in actually because it is Saturday, but that's all right. This is fun. And I generally like to be up at a reasonable time anyway. I don't like to waste a day. And it's cold outside here right now, but I bet it's not very cold where you are, huh?
No, it's not.
So tell everybody what you write. What genre are you writing?
Actually, I write in several of them. Most of the titles that I have are in fantasy. I do have a contemporary thriller out, and I just put out a contemporary mini mystery, a short read. And my projects in the near future are going to be mysteries and thrillers. But since 2010, I've been doing an epic fantasy series.
So what attracted you to epic fantasy?
It drafted me. I absolutely had no intention of writing a fantasy. I had a very real story that I wanted to tell, but something urged me to tell it in like a once upon a time type fashion. And so the story ends up being set somewhere in the Middle Ages, about 13th, 14th century, in a fictitious landscape. Although it deals with very real, very contemporary issues. It's basically the story of a man who loses everything, his career, his family, all his possessions, all his wealth, doesn't know why, and goes on a quest to find out why all this disappeared and how can he get it back. And this was inspired by a friend who got fired and divorced on the same day.
Oh,
and talk about having your life completely derailed. And I wanted to see if I could make that come out happily ever after. I really believe that when we write, we bring things that we imagined into reality. And I thought, okay, if I could draft up some scenario where this all works out, that might be encouraging to him and to other people who have gone through this. And so that was why I started writing the book. And the issues that were involved seemed so large to me that it seemed all very epic and mythic. So the book really wanted to be written that way. So there I was.
How did it turn out for him?
Well, I'm still working on it. I just finished book 4. This is taking a lot more work than I thought it was going to take. I really, when I wrote the first one, The Lost King, thought I'd get it to all end happily ever after, and that'd be the end of it. I got about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the story, and I went, oh no, this story is not going to end happily ever after the way it's going. And it didn't. It concluded, but his story really didn't end. And then people said to me, when's the next book coming out? And I went, next book? Is there a next book? I guess there's a next book. And I realized that there was more to his story to tell. So I wrote book 2, The King's Ransom. And again, I thought, okay, I'd have a sequel, and that would be it. Now I get to the end, and okay, I've faced a trilogy. So I wrote another one. I wrote The King's Redress. I thought, okay, I'm going to have a trilogy. This is good. And I get to the end of The King's Redress, and it's like, no. King B. William has got more story to tell. And by the way, what do you call 4 books? I mean, we have a book, we have a sequel, we have a trilogy. What do you call 4 books in a series? And I looked at a number of different things to call the whole collection. I didn't want to call it a quartet. That made me think about music, and ended up calling it a cycle. 4 books in a series is a cycle. And I really did feel with The Redoubt, which is book 4, that I had brought him in many ways full circle. It hasn't taken care of every issue in his life, but yeah, he did kind of resolve the initiating event in The Lost King. So he will have more adventures, but it's almost as though I completed this big arc, and I'll start another arc.
With him, or somewhat totally different thing?
Pardon?
With a different character in that series, or still with him?
No, the same character, the same lead character, King B. William. The book is all the books have actually been told from his point of view. It's a single character point of view, and there were other characters that were lobbying to have their voices heard, but I couldn't see how to switch points of view in the middle of a series. And I didn't want to go to multiple character viewpoint or anything like that. I did in The Redoubt find a way to scratch that itch, but the series is still going to be, future books will still be from his point of view. He'll just be playing not such a large role, and the secondary characters will start to be more prominent in the action. At least that's what I think is going to happen in the next book, but that could be wrong.
I'm getting the impression from listening to you that you are more of a seat of the pants sort of writer rather than a plotter and a planner. Is that true?
I've tried I've tried both of them. I start out, actually I do kind of start out thinking I know where I'm going. And I have a basic theme. I have an idea that I'm trying to explore that I want to see where it ends up, and know who the characters are. At least I think I know who the characters are. And then it's like putting actors on a stage and handing them the script, and they all look at the script and they go, no, I have a much better idea. We're going to be doing this instead. So, and I don't want to fight them. They've been right, So I just follow them where they want to go, and try to do my best to represent them faithfully. And I did have one of the books I completely made up as and that all of them have been National Novel Writing Month projects.
Okay.
So I've been under a little bit of pressure to get the first 50,000 words of each one of these done in 30 days. And there's not a lot of sitting around, trying to decide where to go next. You just throw everything on the page. You go back later and take 90% of it out. But during the marathon, you throw everything on the page. And I did one of them. I did really just made it up as I went along. And that was so stressful. I would show up every day at work. I had no idea what I was going to write. I'm sitting there going, the clock is ticking. I got to write something. So future ones, I've actually started out with a lot more detailed of a roadmap, although I don't always end up going down that road. Taking some interesting detours. But so it's a little bit of both. I start out thinking I know where I'm going, and find out I'm not going there at all, and make the rest up as I go along. Yeah.
I did the same thing when it comes to, I do nano frequently too. And the first time I did it, I didn't complete it. I was just testing it out, trying it out and then I waited a year and I tried it again, and I did not plot things out. I sat down like you're describing, and the day before I decided I was going to do it. And I had 2 character names. I knew I wanted to write sci-fi. I knew I wanted it to be a middle grade novel. I'd never written anything science fiction before. And I want some time travel in there, just for good measure. And I sat down and I just started writing it. Now, that was a few years ago, and that particular middle grade novel is still sitting there needing to be dealt with, because what I learned later was how important it was for me to at least have some sort of organization to it, because it makes the editing and revision later easier if I have some sort of structure, some sort of idea. That one I had no more ideas other than what I just shared. So in years after that, I had a lot more structure to how I was doing the things. So now my revision process is a piece of cake, the way that I write now. It's really easy. But that one's just still sitting there waiting, because you can tell when you read the book exactly when the story started to come together versus the beginning of it, which is really interesting to me that happened. So I think Nano is great for that. Good for pressure and time, but it also helps you figure some things out about your writing and your style, and like when you write best and things like that. Did you find that was useful too? Did you discover some new things about your writing by going through the process?
Yeah, although it all kind of happened almost as though I was channeling that series, because I've gone back, the projects that I'm working on this year, my NaNoWriMo project from last November, and then another book that I'm working on this year. I'm actually trying to get 2 books out this year. The contemporary thrillers. The writing style, these were stories that I started some time ago. I had quite a bit of it already sort of sketched out. The writing style is so completely different from the style in the King V. Williams series that I almost was surprised. Wow, did I write that? That doesn't sound like me at all. Except that the writing style in the King V. Williams series suits that story. It's more formal. It's a little more flowery. The writing style in the thrillers is economic and terse, which suits the story. And I didn't set out to do that deliberately. The story sort of told itself through me, and I'm not going to argue because people like it, so it's obviously working. Mm-hmm. I've been surprised when I've gone back to do the editing for the NaNoWriMo projects, how much stuff I just sort of made up on the fly, just threw it in there, some little detail, some little, side plot or whatever, thinking, I have no idea if this is really going to stay, but this is what wants to get written today, so I'll write it. And I've been surprised to get towards the end of the book and discover, oh, wow, I can really use that. That's a really good thing that happened, because we're going to use that. That's going to come into play. It's just been astounding. I really wish I were planning and plotting all this stuff so I could say that I'm brilliant, but I'm not. The stories are brilliant. Whatever my muse is brilliant. I'm just following marching orders, more or less.
You mentioned when we started that you write multiple genres when you're doing this. So how are you marketing your various books, and what have you learned about the need to maybe market differently, or is it the same, across genre?
Oh no, it's different, and the thrillers are going to be a lot easier to market. I've had a difficult time marketing the King B. Williams series because they're not typical fantasies. They're really contemporary, mainstream stories. They just happen to be set in the Middle Ages, and there are dragons. Like, okay, what am I going to do with this? There's a dragon in it. I can't really market this to people who read contemporary, mainstream fiction. We're going to bring the dragon in, and they're going to go, oh, what's this dragon doing in here? So I've tried marketing it in the fantasy genre. I'm still not convinced it belongs there, but I haven't found the category in which it really belongs. Now, the mystery thriller ones, that's a lot more clean cut. You know where to find those people, and I know how to talk to them. Because that's actually what I read when I read books. I don't even really read fantasy books. Well, I do now, but I didn't when I started the King B. Williams series. So it has definitely been a problem for me. And the King B. Williams books have found their readers. I get comments from mature male readers who say, I wouldn't read a fantasy book. I'm not interested in sword and sorcery. But this book really spoke to me. I've had Vietnam veterans tell me I really like this series because what King B. Williams is going through is what I went through. I went off to war and I came back, and my life as I had known it had disappeared, and I was trying to find myself again, and what was I going to do with myself? So the books do speak to the readers that I really think that should be reading them. I just am not really certain how to find them. So I'm still learning that. But the mystery ones should be a little bit easier. For example, I used to belong to, way back, I used to belong to Sisters in Crime. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I started Sisters in Crime chapter about 2 decades ago. And then I kind of got out of that whole thing and dropped my membership. And I just renewed my membership. So that's kind of know where all those people hang out. So it's going to be a little bit easier to market the mystery thriller books that I'll be doing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get back to King B. Williams, but probably not until 2017. Mm-hmm.
I noticed.
I really need other projects out.
Someone made a comment in the chat room that said that it's been so discouraging to market a book, especially when they don't know exactly what to do. I don't know if they've got a specific question about marketing or not. But I can throw out a few ideas for you if you have a specific question. I happen to love marketing. I think it's a lot of fun. But on your fantasy thing, aren't there possibly like Sisters in Crime? Isn't there something like that for people who are fantasy writers that you could maybe hobnob with?
Yeah, well, there like there's a lot of Facebook groups. I mean, there are and a lot of Goodreads groups, and I got involved with a lot of those groups. But again, it seemed to me that the books that everybody was writing and the books that everybody was reading were different. There was a lot more sorcery, a lot more magic going on, and I felt like if that's what people were looking for, my books really wouldn't meet those expectations. There isn't much magic going on because King B. William doesn't like magic. He's suspicious of magic. He doesn't have any sorcerers in his court. He doesn't consult magicians. He has seers. All good kings back then had seers, but he doesn't believe them. He is a pragmatist and an empiricist. So there's not much magic in it. Have some mythical critters in it, but again, it's not even always. The dragons are very real. The dragons in our lives are very real. For me, the dragons are the obstacles that pop up in your path when you are headed somewhere. You think you know where you're going, and this pops up, and you don't know where it came from, but you have got to deal with it in order to move forward. And that's what the dragons are. And he runs into a lot of dragons because what he's trying to do is a really big thing, trying to get his former life back. There are some other strange critters in the book, and it's not always clear whether they're really there or whether they're just imagined by people who are under stress. So they're not, I don't feel as though they meet the expectations of people who really want lots of monsters, and the monsters are, I mean, sometimes the monster is the hero of the story, the dragon's the hero, or the main character. So to get back to my answer, I got involved in those groups, but I didn't really feel like things were clicking.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What about, the latest craze for a lot of authors right now is to get into Facebook advertising. Is that something that you've explored?
I tried a Facebook ad when I got, I think it was 100 likes on my author page. They gave me an ad. They gave me an ad run. And I ran an ad for about a month, and I didn't see that it did any darn good. Now, I may not have been the most wonderful ad, and I may not have picked the right demographics for it. I mean, a lot of it could have been my fault, but I didn't see that it did any good. I think, and having been in the publicity business, which I was for a number of years, that's what I did. I did promotion and publicity. The number of impressions that you have to make for an ad to work is astounding. And so advertising is very expensive if it's going to work. You have to spend a lot of money. You have to run a lot of ads. You have to really be out there over and over and over again. And I think for some of us, we do a lot of blogging. We do a lot of Facebook posts, tweeting, stuff on Goodreads, and we think we must be boring people to tears by pounding the same drum. I've come to realize we have to do way more drum pounding than what we are comfortable with before people even start to notice. I did a pre-launch campaign for the Redoubt months ahead before it got released to a lot of the same people who had been following the series. And I still have some of them say, "Oh, is there a new book out? It's like, really? Yes, it's been out since February. Where have you been?
Well, there's that whole pre-launch thing and the timing of that because I've been trying to explore that a little bit too. I have not had a lot of success with the pre-launch stuff, and I've been playing with, like I said, different timings of that. But one thing that I've consistently read from other authors who are more successful in their business, their career than I am at the moment, people like Joanna Penn, people like Mark Dawson, those sort of people, it's really important not to launch too early when you do a pre-launch. And so for me, I've done a 30-day out pre-launch. Right now, I'm just doing a 2-week. It's 2 weeks out. I just said I'm going to put North Downing out this weekend. I was going to do it a week ago, but I decided to time it with this convention, and then just do a 2-week pre-order phase for it and see what happens and promote it and all that. And even then, when I say promote, I'm not promoting very heavy on it, which is part of the reason why pre-launches don't work effectively for me, because I'm usually doing other stuff. But in theory, I know how this should work. So some of it's timing, and having it too soon. People, I think what you may have been experiencing is people, one, they didn't get the message, or two, they got it and then forgot between the time that you did it and then now they just forgot, which that's part of the thing that happens. So we got a couple minutes left. What's the best advice that you've received as an author trying to build your career?
Write a lot. Just put it all out there. I mean, write a lot and do everything you can to make it wonderful. Edit like crazy, have beta readers, have editors, have proofreaders, make it the absolute most wonderful product of the highest quality, and then get it out there and then do it all over again and keep doing it. Just be out there with really good stuff.
Awesome. So Devorah, I think you already put your links in there, right? When we were playing around, your links for your website and everything are in the chat, so people can go back and check through there, scroll through. Did you have a buy link or any promotions that you have going right now?
I put my Amazon author page on there somewhere.
Okay.
And I also have a booth on Goodreads for the Brains to Books convention, which is astounding. Everybody should be going to this convention. When we're done here, when they're done listening to you, everybody go to the convention. It's amazing. It's just amazing. I'm blown away by how awesome it is. So I have a booth on Goodreads for that, and the Amazon author page and my blog, Twitter. So I put all those links there, and you can find me one way or the other.
Are you doing any of the takeover events?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing a takeover Sunday morning at 9 Central Time.
Okay. So
I'm going to have fun.
That's over on Facebook for everyone who's curious. The takeover events, they go on pretty much all day long, but every hour is a different author, and they're doing giveaways and games and just a lot of fun stuff, but a great way for you to interact with a variety of different authors and get to know someone that you might really enjoy reading. So that's what Devorah and I are talking about. So all the takeover events are over on Facebook. So just look for Brain to Books. I put the link for the Brain to Books in the chat room earlier, so scroll up and find that, and then you'll be able to get over there and see what we're talking about and get some guidance that way. Otherwise, go to Goodreads and look for the Brain to Books Fairground. That link is in the chat room too, I think, but check it out that way. Devorah, thanks so much for being with me here on the Back Porch Writer Show.
Well, thank you so much. I had a blast.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Back Porch Writer Show here on Blab IM. It's a special weekend event because of the Brain to Books Cyber Convention that's happening all weekend long. You can find out more information about that over on Goodreads. And if you scroll up and down, you'll probably find the link that's over there. But just go to Goodreads and look for the Brain to Books Cyber Convention 2016. There's a fairgrounds. It'll give you all the information you need to know. There are links to the interviews that I'm doing throughout the weekend. There's takeover events over on Facebook. There's a cover wars going on where we gave them our covers, and it's just battling out to see who has the best cover ever. There's protagonist, antagonist contests going on. There's all kinds of stuff happening, lots of swag being given away. So make sure you check out the fairgrounds over at Goodreads for the Brain to Books Cyber Convention. Now today, right now, I have Lawrence O'Brien on with me, and he is the creative mind behind Books Go Social. And so I wanted him to come on and tell us all about that. And I think there's a conference or convention that I've gotten some information about that's happening. And then, whatever else he'd like to share, because he also happens to be an author. Welcome, Lawrence.
Hi, it's very nice to meet you all, and welcome to Dublin. I'm on the south side in Sandyford, just a 10-minute metro ride away from the city centre. And we have an office in the city centre, a couple of minutes from Trinity College, if you've ever been to Dublin. So this is the new Dublin. This is about promoting books. Our office is actually in the site where Leopold Bloom, a fictional Joycean character, worked selling advertising in fiction. So we like to think of it as we're in reality selling advertising for books in a place where Joyce had a fictional character selling advertising. So
that's a neat little tidbit. Like that's neat. A neat tidbit to know that.
It's
so
different. And
tell everybody about Books Go Social and how it started and what it's all about.
Well, back in 2009, I'd been writing since the year 2000, and I'd spent years submitting my books the traditional way to agents. And I got a few towards the end, I got a few, yeah, we like your book, but we just can't find a home for it. Or we like your book, but we just don't like it. Or something.
It never happens.
Just can't sell it. And then I had a subscription to Writer's Digest, and I read twice that you should have a blog and you should have Twitter. I read that in 2009. So after reading it twice, I thought blogs were for techies and IT people and all of that. So finally, I took the advice, started a blog in 2009, and got a Twitter account. And within 11 months, I had a contract from HarperCollins who put it on the back of the first ARC copies. Lawrence has a very successful blog and social media presence. So it was just amazing. So obviously I'm a believer. Now, I've been dropped by HarperCollins since, which is what happens. I met somebody at Sleuthfest recently. Last month I was speaking at Sleuthfest in Florida, and they said they've been dropped by 3 publishers, which I think is a really good thing, to be that you can say you've been dropped. So I'm aiming to be dropped by at least 2 or 3 if I'm lucky in my career. If I, to get taken on and then get dropped is like, that seems to be par for the course. So my novels have done really well. They sold, one of the reasons I was dropped, my editor left, lovely lady in HarperCollins, she left, and then they gave me a replacement editor, and she went to Amazon. So that was sort of like the end of it, because both of the editors I've been working with. And my series, they bought 3 books, and they helped me in one way, which was to build my social media following. So we now have almost 700,000 Twitter followers. 692,000 and something, I forget, was the last count. And they helped establish that. We ran various competitions. We did a lot of work in 2011, 2012 when they published the books. And my background is 25 years in technology. So I just like technology. And I just like Twitter and, finding out ways to make things work and building email lists. I just like it. And it's paid for my life and my family's life for 30 years now. So it's great. Technology is wonderful. It allows us to talk here. But I built Books Go Social, and I've kept writing. And now I'm a hybrid publisher, which is I've got these traditional novels which came out, which are still selling. I still make money on them. And that's great. But my new novel is coming out next week in the series, which is called The Nuremberg Puzzle. and I've self-published a guide to social media as well. And so we've got our booksgosocial.com company, which has over 3,500 authors we've helped now. And we've got a conference every June. It's the Dublin Writers Conference, and it's bigger and better this year. We've got nearly double the number of speakers, and we have some really interesting people coming over. Hollywood producer coming over who's produced 20 movies, who's into helping people. He's also got a publishing company in Los Angeles. We have a television scriptwriter who's written some of the best British TV. He's speaking about story. We have lots of other people helping about covers, about digital marketing. And I love writers' conferences. And the reason I'm doing this is because I went to conferences in the States, and I had the best time of my life, the best weekends of my life. A conference in New York, a writers' conference in New York, I just had the best weekend of my life, just talking nonstop about writing and books and promoting and everything, And I've been to conferences in San Diego. I've spoken the Southern California Writers Conference and Sleuthfest, and I spoke at the Key West Mystery Writers Conference, which is coming up in June as well. If anyone wants to go, my friend Michael Haspins runs that conference. He runs a great conference there. Jeffrey Deaver, I met Jeffrey Deaver, which is great, last year, and he's got some great names coming early June, the Key West Mystery Writers Conference. So I love conferences, and if you feel like coming to Dublin, it's the 24th to the 26th of June. We're going to have a great time. It's a small conference. We're probably looking at 80 or 100 people. We're aiming in 5 years to have something like Sleuthfest with 300, 350 people. But at the moment, we're building up. It is unbelievably the first writers' conference in Dublin. There are readers' conferences, the ones where people go and speak, and it's not about the craft, it's about listening to writers simply talking about their book or reading out. So ours is the first craft conference in Dublin. So that's on 24th to 26th of June this year. Our main thing is our book promotion business, and that is about promoting books on Twitter, on Facebook. We have Pinterest, we have a YouTube channel, we have email marketing now. The aim is not just to charge people a lot of money. I don't think authors should pay a lot of money for promotion. And our service has a 60-day money-back guarantee. Specifically, I've worked it out, it's specifically as a filter. So if your books aren't selling with promotion services, with our promotion service, you can get your money back within 60 days. And we give people their money back every week. It's quite reasonable for us. We don't have a problem with that, with giving people their money back. And what it ends up being is it's a filter, because if books aren't popular, if they can't sell, you shouldn't be promoting them. You shouldn't be sites. I know somebody who got their money back from us last year, and then they went and did a BookBub promotion, and they didn't sell any books with BookBub either. Okay, they were counting, I got a few reviews as what they got out of.
And a BookBub?
So if books don't sell, on a BookBub, and they didn't sell with us either. The other thing is, we had somebody recently, we got a Facebook group, we had somebody recently who came on who was talking about how they changed their cover 5 times, okay, before it started selling. Isn't that amazing? That they had the ability and the self-belief to keep changing their cover, to keep tweaking it, to change the description, to tweak the price. The book promotion works best when you have something good to sell. It's like anything. People expect, they say, oh, book promotion, shouldn't it be an average sale? A romance sells 300 copies. Shouldn't it be an average sale? No, unfortunately it's not, because all books are different. Their appeal is different. The cover has to be amazing. And the new theory I have is that we as indies, or hybrid or indies, we have to be better than traditional published books. We have to look better. Our covers have to be as amazing or better than a traditionally published cover. and our descriptions have to be amazing, and we have to have as many or more reviews than those. We have to work this. One of the problems is people think it's easy. You know, they have one review and a cover that somebody did and a very high Kindle price. I think this should be easy. You just pay a promotion company, and surely I should just be able to sell lots of books. People want to see, when they go to buy a book, it has to be in a popular genre. They want to see a great cover. They want to be amazed by the book. They want to be excited about reading it. And the description has to be good. The Kindle price has to be low. All of those things have to be in place. So if people get those things right, the books can sell. We have authors who are selling 30 books a day. That's about 1,000 books a month, and they're doing great. And some of those have continue with our promotions. They pay us to keep going. Some of them stop to check and test whether their books are selling, and then they come back because their sales dip. But those books are typically in popular genres, the ones that are doing well. Barbara Devlin, one of our authors, I won't tell you, she's been chosen by Amazon in the last few months as one of their top sellers and getting extra promotion by Amazon in the romantic adventure category. Her books, she's invested in covers. She's got a series of 8 books, a second series. Her covers look amazing. They're the type of books that you would just want to buy every book and go to a hotel for a weekend and read them, you know, in your room. They're just so appealing. The descriptions, they just sound so appealing, and they're all reasonably priced. You know, $2.99, and the first in the series might be $99. I think she had a free offer, so she knows what she's doing, and she's got a great series, romantic adventure series that anyone would want to read. So those books do really well. It's really hard to sell literary fiction, to sell poetry. It's just really hard
Short
to
stories.
sell those types of books. Most people buy for entertainment, except it's nonfiction.
Hey, Lawrence, when it comes to
So I'll
promotion,
let you jump in there.
what would you suggest for someone who they've got their first book in a series and in a popular genre? So that, let's say they write romance, or they write mystery thrillers, mystery suspense, that sort of thing, but they only have one book. So should they spend some time and energy on promoting that one book, or should they spend their time and energy on writing the next book before they move forward? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you should take it slowly. One book can sell, but it has to be presented really well, and it has to be in a popular genre. Um, Literary or books aimed at a small niche, they're unlikely to do well. You'd have to work it very hard for them to do well. But a single book can work. I wouldn't have huge expectations. One of the problems is, what do people expect? Please keep in mind that 10 years ago, a book published in hardback in London, they'd publish 500 copies in hardback as the first print run, and they'd probably get about 200 of those back in the
Mm.
first year. So the expectations in the publishing industry would be that if you were a new author 10 years ago, you might only sell 300 copies in a year. To think that we're all going to become Stephen King is impossible. So if you're selling a reasonable quantity and you're interested in writing as a career, there's now an opportunity to make a career of it. The people who are doing extraordinarily well, the Hugh Howies, they are super classy people, you know, very bright, able to take on lots of tasks, multitask on 10 things. And so it's tricky to get into that category. He's also a genius, and his writing is extremely prolific. But I think if we have a story to tell, if we want to get that story out, and we have a modest expectation, and we don't spend too much on self-publishing, we find a reasonably priced service, we do some low-priced marketing to test the market, so none of us are risking our shirts. We're talking a couple of $100 here. We get a low-priced editing service, somebody to edit it for us, and we test the market with our books, and then we move on. I don't encourage people to spend 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. I've seen some of them. I've heard of some of the horror stories of the money that people are spending on getting their books published from some of the big houses, and then they don't sell. At least one thing with ebooks, we don't have to stack them in our houses, in our garages anymore. You know, we don't have to
a couple of things.
Printing 2,000 copies.
Couple things for people who are watching.
Yeah.
Welcome. If you have a question, write /Q and then your question in the chat box, and then that question will show up in a spot where I can see it more readily. There is a question from Garland who's asking, what is the best genre to write? So do you have an opinion about that, Lawrence?
That's a great question. I go with the genre that I like. I like romantic. I do like romantic. I like adventure. I like adventure. I liked Tolkien. I liked Wilbur Smith. I like Dan Brown. I like popular fiction. So I write a sort of mix of those, bit of Dan Brown, Wilbur Smith, adventure stories. That's what I like to. So the first thing to think about is, what do you like? What do you read? What do you enjoy? It's so hard if you haven't read adventure to write an adventure. I don't read romance. If you haven't read romance, or you haven't read historical fiction, it's really hard to write it. But if you read any of the popular genres, then that'll be the one. If you like romance books, then that'll be the one. Write in a popular genre if you want to have a chance of earning money as a writer. It's one of the things. My first book was never published, and I specifically decided I wanted to write a popular. After that, after realizing I'd spent 5 years on that book and it got nowhere, I realized I needed to write something in a popular genre, whether that's mystery, thrillers, romance, adventure, whatever it is, that I needed to write a popular genre. And you need to understand the rules of that genre. You can stretch the rules, you can try and make it different, but people have expectations in adventure. In my novel, there's somebody murdered. In the first novel, somebody gets their head cut off in the second page, kidnapped and decapitated, unfortunately, in Istanbul by extremists. So it's about, for me, that's interesting. Adventure, something contemporary, something horrible happening, and then, of course, the good guy comes in and sorts it all out and finds out who did it and why they did it, and travels all over the Middle East and then back to London, whatever. Anyway, I like that sort of fiction, and that's why I write it. So that's my answer. Does that answer your question at all?
Garland.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, here we go. Let's see if it does. Can't see it. Hey. Hi, Garland.
Hey.
Hi, Garland.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much. I'm in a unique situation. I own my own printing and design company, and I was going to self-publish. It's going to be more offbeat comedy with illustrations, and I wanted to know your opinion on that type of book. Not so much really, I don't care if it really sells well. I just want to start, I'm going to design the cover, write it, publish it, and I really don't care at this point about, if it really makes money. I just want to put it out there. So I really want to know your opinion about, comedy, offbeat topics.
I think if you can connect it to something in popular culture, if you can connect in some way to something that's going on, like the Donald Trump comedy book, or the Hillary Clinton comic book, or maybe it's not those, right? But if you can connect with something that's going on, title is going to be really important. Your title.
You're prophetic because, again, I live in DC, and it's going to be really, it's offbeat, and it's that type of political humor that I was really talking about. So that's, you answered my question indirectly, because that's really the type of thing that I'm trying to do, something quirky, a unique look at the political system, but not from the view of people who on the outside, but some of the quirky things that they really do. When you really see these people, how they live and what they do at the bars and not on C-SPAN, it's hilarious. So I really wanted to write, this offbeat look at these, the staffers and and that type of thing. So yeah, so you really answered my question. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I think underneath Washington, or something, I'm sure there's a lot of crazy stuff going on there. And we all wanted to see, House of Cards was such a big hit. I enjoyed that. But I'm sure there's a comedy House of Cards in there. There's a Friends of Washington. There's a, Beyonce in Washington. There's Donald Trump makes it president. He becomes president for life. Maybe he'll change the constitution.
Please stop saying things like that. Don't, please. Do not get me started.
Maybe.
If you go to some of the local pubs and just listen to the stories of their support people, of their staff, you would be amazed at some of the things that you hear. I mean, if once they get going, because there's certain bars on Capitol Hill that all staff frequent, and so you can just listen to them talk about their people, and I mean, the people would be floored at some of the stories that you would hear.
Don't say anything, right? Because I'm sure the NSC are going
to.
I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, put in your book.
How often do you have this? Because this is the first time I've ever came across. I'm old, and technology is really this type of technology is new to me. So when do you do this? How often?
This show. This is actually. This is a brand new thing I'm doing on Blab, but I have a Back Porch Writer show that I do on Tuesdays at 9:30 in the morning on Blog Talk Radio. It's live. And I talk with other authors and industry experts and things on that show. But also on Tuesday at 11 o'clock Central Daylight Time, I co-host Indie Author Hour with a man named Hardy LaBelle. And so we answer a lot of questions about marketing and advertising and what we do and what's working for us, and we just go back and forth, and people join that conversation too. But this is happening because
So I'm sorry, I'm slow. Go back. You had a lot of different stuff, and I would like to follow you. So how do I? Because again, I don't see any links. How can I get the links so I can follow that those programs?
I'll put the Back Porch Writer link in the chat in a second. But if you want to follow Indie Author Hour on Blab, you just have to look for Indie Author Hour or look for my name, Corey Miller at Back Porch Writer, and you'll be able to find that show. So that should be pretty easy. The Back Porch Writer show on Blab is only this weekend, basically because there's a special event going on. And so I'm interviewing authors for that. But that's how you can find it. But let me put that in the chat real quick for the other thing.
This is.
Are you on Twitter, Garland?
Yes.
Are you on Twitter,
I'm
Garland?
On Twitter, and I'm starting to tweet and all this. Go ahead.
Put your Twitter name. Put your Twitter name in the comment there, so we can all follow you.
Okay.
And because I want to see your book when it comes out. When is it going to come out?
Again,
when's it going to come out?
I'm still working on it. I'm getting the particulars together. I was even thinking about doing a flip book. So right now I'm in the process. I'm doing stand-up comedy now. So yes. So I'm doing a lot of little things now that, in my 50s, and I'm just really comedy. Yes, I'm doing.
That's great.
I'm doing a lot of creative things now, and so this is fantastic. So I really,
It's great.
this was a blessing because again, I just got it this morning and I just saw this thing blab. And what is
Like,
that?
surprise!
So I downloaded. Yes, this is wonderful.
It was meant to be.
Yes.
So,
So
Garland,
I'm gonna follow you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Garland.
Nice to meet you, Garland.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
I'm going to scoot you out and make room for other people who have questions. Thank you.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Does anybody else have any questions for Lawrence before we move on? We have a few more minutes with him. I will say this, just as a reminder, if you have a question, put /Q and then write your question in the chat, and then it'll pop up more easily for us to see it. But I also need to say, I have been using Books Go Social, and I started using it specifically because, and goes back to my question of the one book thing. I have more than one book, but I only have one at the moment. When I did this, I had one novel coming out called Hush, and this would have been last November. And I was like, well, what do? I want to try this out. And I thought it was a really reasonably priced service, because I think I did the entry one, which I think was maybe $59 or something. It was reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And that one included a whole bunch of like tweets that would go out in a specified period of time. But what I really liked and got into, why I was attracted to it, was because I needed help getting reviews for Hush. And so that was one of the things that I really wanted to focus on. And it's not like I have maybe 8 or 9 reviews for Hush now, but Books Go Social helped me to get the ball rolling on doing that. And so that was helpful. I really appreciated that. The other thing that was really helpful was I had the cover almost finished, and I was uploading everything to your site or something, and you saw the cover and immediately gave me feedback and said, you might want to bump up the font size on the title. And I went, oh, okay. And I was able to go and do that like right away. Had my graphic artist change that a little bit, tweak it, and made it a little bit better. And that one little tweak was really useful, because I didn't realize how much of a difference it would make on the cover. And it actually did make a difference to make it a little bit bigger. And so that was helpful. So getting that sort of feedback was useful. And so I just wanted to throw that out there that, yeah, this is something I've been using, and I need to take more advantage of it because I haven't. But I also just have the one novel, and I just released for pre-order the second one this weekend. And so my marketing strategy has to do with, when I get to the third book, really focus on push. But I knew the first one it wouldn't be. But my goal really was reviews for the book, and it helped me do some of that. So I appreciated the service and the tweets and all that.
What's the second one? What's the title of the second one, and what's it about?
The second one is North Downing. So I write mystery thrillers, Simply Sandal's mystery thrillers. So the first one's Hush, Desiree Jackson novel. The second one is North Downing. The third one that I'm working on now is On Your Six, and then the fourth is Off the X. So I've got them sort of kind of plotted, not really. But North Downing is a continuation of Hush. So in that, the main character, Desiree Jackson, is still trying to figure out who killed her sister and why. Her sister was killed when she was 15, but she's a private investigator, so she also has her life as a private investigator, and she has taken on a cold case, but she's representing or working for a convict who's in the Nebraska State Penitentiary, and he does burglaries, BBs. Yeah. He gets charged with this murder, this cold case, and so he hires Des to make sure he doesn't go down for that murder, and so that's what the other story is in the book in North Downing. So there's two things happening. This one's a continuation, and one is the story that ends at the end of the book, which is the murder of the socialite that he's being convicted for or potentially convicted for. But anyway, that's what it is. But enough about me. We're not here to talk about me. No,
that was good.
We're here to talk about you.
Oh, that's good. I'm just posting our blab in our Facebook group. Can we tweet?
You can. Well? Anybody can tweet from here, and I, for some reason, can't see that. Usually you can. But you can share the last 30 seconds, and you can tweet what's going on. You can send it to Facebook. So anybody who's watching, lurking, you can do that sort of thing. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. The whole Books Go Social thing is something to check out. I'm a frugal person. I like affordable things that work. That's essentially what I look for. And so this was one of the things that I sought out and wanted to try. Go ahead.
I think it's really important that it's affordable. and people can get their money back if it doesn't work. 60 days. 60 days is cool, right? You've got 60 days. Then you should be able to work out if a service is giving you some good value. And I think it's important that authors don't pay a lot for promotion, because you just don't know. I know I'm convinced my book is great, and we all are, but we just don't know until we put it out in front of readers. We used to have to get it into bookshops and even publishers. Keep hearing that publishers don't know. They just don't know. Big publishers, they don't know. They pay a lot of money for a book, and it doesn't do well. So it happens all the time. So we don't know. If publishers don't know, we've written a book, we don't know. So most of us haven't got a lot of money. Weren't born with a silver spoon or whatever. And so I think you should spend a little, test the market, see if people want it, try something else, and change how it's presented. Change your covers, invest in a good quality cover, change your description, all of that thing, and then move on. It's part of our journey, and part of it as well is this social thing that we have as writers. It's a wonderful thing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy writing from the sense of it's something to put your mind to. That instead of just watching TV all the time, that it's something to put my mind to, where I can work things out, how to plot this, and I really enjoy the creative instinct. And now, the ability to reach people through Twitter and to have low cost. There are other low cost marketing services as well. You can test the market, see if things are working out. You haven't risked your shirt. That's all good. You won't have to explain what happened to your partner, that you spent thousands of dollars on your book, which is a really tricky one.
Hey,
that it didn't sell.
Lawrence, before you go, because I don't think we touched on this side of it, at least not in detail. How does someone know if they use Books Go Social? How do they know whether or not it's being effective or helping them in any way? What are some ways that they would know that? Besides obvious
first
sales.
of all is yeah. Your reviews, your Amazon score, the advice we give, the support we give. We also track hits that we generate. We use a smart URL, or we can also use your tracking. If you use Bitly or you use Google, have a tracking system, you can give us the link, and so we tweet your link to your book, and then you can count them up yourself and see how many hits we've generated for you in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We do see it as a long term. We try and help people with advice on their covers. We upgrade people's covers for free as well now, as long as it's something relatively straightforward. And we give advice on descriptions and encourage people to drop their pricing. And we have a strong Facebook, the Books Go Social Facebook author group, which is over 10,000 authors in it. There's probably only about 500 who are active in it, but it's a very supportive, and it's not just about putting your book up, it's about getting help with ideas and things like that. So we run those, and we run competitions. We have a competition every week for the book of the week for people to buy, which helps one book jump up the charts. The one last week jumped up from 1 million to 10,000 on Amazon. We genuinely do our best to help people. We don't ask for a lot of money, and we're doing our best to support people. So that's booksgosocial.com. I really appreciate you having me on here today. What's your next step after me?
I have coming on Skylar in a moment, an author, and I see another author out there watching this who maybe join us as well. So I've got a couple things happening in the next few hours. This is going on pretty much, like I said, all afternoon. I have a little break in the middle, thankfully.
Are you going to be able to eat? Are you going to be able to
eat?
I'm
going to have to. I do. I have a little bit of time in there to take a little break, but not right here in the morning. And that's cool. I'm good with that. I can handle this. I'm strong. I can handle this. But Lawrence,
I want to
thank you.
I want to thank you, Brad. You run a great program, and you do a lot for authors, and you really do, and it's great. It's really wonderful being on with you. So thank you very much.
Before you go, tell everybody about, you have a podcast that you started too, right?
Oh yeah, we do the podcast, but we have a series of interviews coming up now, so it's probably I've forgotten the name of the podcast.
That's all right.
Oh
It's a
God,
podcast. Look for it with Lawrence's name.
it's a podcast. Look for it. Go to booksgosocial.com and you'll see details of all the different things because we have YouTube and Pinterest and
There's a
Instagram,
lot.
SoundCloud and Twitter and
There's
Facebook and oh my
there's a
God.
lot going on with it. Oh, and I'm going to let you go, I swear. But there is one more thing that was cool about Books Go Social is that they had, and I don't know if you're still doing this because I haven't been able to do it recently. But if you have a manuscript, you can give it to them, and a group of people, other authors, will help you do just quick like copy edit, really check it for you in sections of 10 pages or something. Are you still doing that for authors, where they can just get their manuscript checked?
Yeah, we've done that. Yeah, we've done that about a half dozen times, and we're going to get more members into that because we can't ask people to do it too often. So that has sort of slowed down a bit because people were very good, but we're coming up with new things all the time, and we're pushing things like things to help you with the new Twitter timeline, and we've got a vlog going, and we're coming up with new things. It's what I like about this technology stuff is there's new stuff coming all the time. So we're doing Facebook ads, and we're doing a viral. We're going to have ambassadors. I can't even tell you. There's lots of stuff coming, and I love testing things, and that's what I think authors should do: test things, try it out, test it. Don't spend too much money, and see if you like it.
Exactly.
So that was great.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. I'm glad you're here, and I'll probably be in
Good
touch.
luck.
See you later.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Corey Miller, and I'm here with the Back Porch Writers Show. It airs live every Tuesday on Blog Talk Radio at 9:30 in the morning, Central Daylight Time. But we're having this special event this weekend with Brain to Books Cyber Convention. You can find out more about it over on Goodreads. Everything's there, and there's a lot going on. So make sure that you go check it out. And much of it's being recorded. So those of you who are watching this after the fact, you can actually find even more stuff. Just go look for it. There are panels. There was a panel yesterday on multicultural diversity in publishing. Interesting chat there. I could go on and on about that, but I won't. And then there's some on world building and mystery detective, just lots. So go check everything out. There's some takeover events over on Facebook. So it's Goodreads, Facebook, and over here on Blab IM. And right now I have Skylar, who is an author. She writes poetry and I think fiction. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Romance.
Okay, so Skylar is here to tell us all about her writing. Go, Skylar.
I've always liked writing. I've been writing since I was really young, and it started with the teacher asking the class to write a story about a Dr. Seuss poster, and so I lost the first contest. But when I saw what she was actually looking for, I won every poster after that. And ever since that, in third grade, I've been writing ever since.
Mm-hmm. So what have you published at this point?
So far, I have 2 romance novels. I have Forbidden Acts that was published 2 years ago and self-published. And also, I just published Bound to You.
Mm-hmm. Why romance?
I like watching romance, and I love to read it, and I connect with it and the characters, and I also like listening to romantic music, slow music, and that also helps me to connect when I'm writing. Sometimes I'll listen to that.
I've heard of other authors do that too. I tried it. I tried listening to music when I was writing more of a romance or sex scene in a book. It's okay. It sort of kind of helped. I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah, not so much for me apparently. I've heard of other authors do it. I mean, they'll even put together a playlist for their work. Is that what you do? You're nodding your head. Yeah? So you really are into the audio side of that in your process. Are you a plotter when you're doing your writing, or do you just see the pants, just sit and write?
It depends. Sometimes I'll plot, but for the most part, it just comes, and it'll just kind of start building a life of its own, and it just goes, and I just go along for the ride.
I had another author so far today say that it's just whatever they're telling me to write, I just write. Like the voices in the head sort of thing. I just write it. That's funny. Do you use any specific like writing software? Or are you using Word? What do you do to just organize yourself when you're writing?
I start out now in Google Docs because I've lost a lot of writing in Word. I've lost stories, and like if for some reason my computer get a virus or something, and so if I do it in Docs, then I know I'll have it even if my computer loses it. Or yeah.
That can be devastating, the whole losing stuff. That happened to my father at one point. He's a writer too, and he lost some, and he still hasn't been able to find it, get it back. He's hoping it's somewhere on an old hard drive or something, because I don't want to start all over. It won't be the same. And I say, well, You're right. It won't be the same, but it might actually be better too. So, I mean, there is enough that it could be improved by having that happen to you, but it is devastating. It almost happened to me once. So I get it. I know I use Scrivener. That's the word processing that I use for when I'm writing all my stuff now. I used to use something called Master Writer. It didn't do as much as what I wanted, so I switched to Scrivener to do that. So you've got the books out. How are you marketing your books? What kind of things do you do?
I started getting ads for Facebook, and I heard yesterday that they're not that effective getting the ads on Facebook, but I was doing that, and also take out some ads on Goodreads, and do the giveaways on Goodreads, and just taking out ads really so that people can at least see my name and get familiarize themselves with.
Have you been doing? I'll come back to the Facebook ad thing in a minute, so don't let me forget that. But have you been doing any free promos and then promoting those to the different like BookSend site or the 99-cent promo sites and places like that? Is that what you mean by ads? Other ads that you do?
No, just I'll buy that. Purchase the ads. Like I am doing a giveaway on Goodreads, and I also have an ad going for it so that it can be more visible.
An ad on Goodreads?
Yes.
Okay.
You can purchase, like, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. Like you can, so a sponsored ad, and so more people can see it. It can be more visible.
Right. I've never done it. I've never tried it on Goodreads. Any of their ads and stuff. So I don't know how effective they are. Are you pretty familiar with them?
Yeah, I think the Goodreads is actually good because that's where the readers really are. So I think the Goodreads might be a little bit more effective than probably Facebook because you know that you're who you're targeting on Goodreads.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it. I haven't tried that yet. I saw it. It was on my radar about a week or so ago because I had forgotten all about the fact that they had it. And I thought, oh, okay. On the Facebook side, though, I think the challenge, a couple challenges, but one of the challenges with Facebook is that you need to know how to create the ad and target the ad for it to be effective. And you do need to have a budget when you do it. Otherwise, you can end up spending a ton of money on the Facebook ads. But I think if you get that down, it can be an effective tool to use, depending on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're trying to build your email list, I've seen it be super effective for other authors to build their email list. In fact, it's for my co-host for the Indie Author Hour. He went from, and we started the Indie Author Hour several months ago. And when we started it, he was just getting into Facebook ads, and so was I. He took Mark Dawson's course. I did not. So I was learning from Hardy, my co-host. His email list went from abysmal to, in the last couple months, well over 1,000 from doing Facebook ads. Very targeted. He got it down to what it needed to be to make it work. But when you switch to trying to do selling with the Facebook ads, then you have to tweak things a little bit and do something different. So it really, you have to know what you're doing. And the only way you know what you're doing with Facebook stuff is trial and error, unfortunately.
Right.
So spend a little money, but not a lot, and get trial and error for that. But I definitely am going to have to look at the Goodreads thing, because I haven't even tried that, and it's a very good idea to do that.
Yeah.
So check that out. So are you pretty active on Goodreads then?
For the most part, I try to be. Sometimes I'll visit different groups, and I think I can be a little bit more active than I am right now. But sometimes I try to get in conversations. And
I started Indie at Back Porch Writers on Goodreads, so check that out. Indies at Back Porch Writer on Goodreads. I just started that group because I thought, why not? Let me see what this is all about, because I'm trying to figure out Goodreads, because like many authors, I was on it and not really doing much with it. And then I met Angela, who put together this whole con, Brand New Books Con, and she's like, Corey, you really should start a group on Goodreads. And I said, okay. So, I'll try it. Why not? I don't have enough to do. I will try it. But it's there. And it's only called Indies at Back Porch Writer because I couldn't think of anything else to call it. I'm not married to that name, and you can change the name of a group. So, okay, cool. But what have you found useful about your work or interactions on Goodreads? What's great about Goodreads? Because you have more experience with it than I do.
You find out a lot of information from writers. If you join the writers groups, you learn different things, get different tips from people, and you can also make friends on the group in the different groups that they'll help you to further your writing career.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to, you mentioned the marketing and the advertising, and you think the Goodreads thing is a good, effective one. What advice have you received from other people about marketing and advertising that you either have tried and it didn't work, and what are your thoughts about that, or haven't tried but want to?
Well, the guy that you have mentioned, that the class, the marketing class, I am just started taking that. Yes. And I think that will be beneficial. I see his ads sometimes, and so that's why I
so the ads worked.
Yeah. That was, yeah. And just, I can't really think of anything right now, but just different, even like in the Facebook groups, they give like the new adult group on Facebook. They always have good advice. I like to ask questions in there because I write new adult. And so people usually have some good advice in there if I ask something.
Mm-hmm. Now, where are you from? I guess I didn't ask that already.
I'm originally from Syracuse, New York. But I live in Pennsylvania right now.
So are you involved in any writing groups in Pennsylvania? Like in Nebraska, we have the Nebraska Writers Guild, for example. Do you have anything like that where you are?
I'm not. There is a couple writing groups here, but I haven't really joined. I've been to one, but I haven't.
What's stopping you from doing that?
I'm not. I'm kind of a shy person, so I kind of stay to myself.
Yeah, for me, it's more about they're too far away. I've lived in the country, and the town that's near me is about 25,000 people, and then the largest city in Nebraska is Omaha, and that's about a 30-minute drive. Just to get to the outskirts of that city is about a 30-minute drive. Then I'd have to go further in to find a lot of those different groups that meet. Like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. I don't want to do it. It's why I started the Back Porch Writer Show, so I could just talk with other authors and industry experts and learn that way, because it was just easier than driving everywhere to try and meet people. I also don't do critique groups and things like that. Have you had experience with that at all?
I think that's really the one. The one that I've been to here was a critique group. We would exchange um, story manuscripts, and then they would look over. We look over each other's and give each other advice. I really do like that because sometimes as an author we need to honest critiquing and so we can see what we need to fix.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned you've indie published. What made you decide to indie publish versus go the traditional route?
Well, I wasn't getting any offers from the traditional route, and so I said maybe I can just give the indie publishing a try, and so I gave it a shot, and I kind of like it. It's more. It feels like it's a more freedom than, and you don't have to follow a. They say with traditional, there's certain things that you have to follow when it comes to romance, certain way you need to write, and I guess a formula you need to follow, and I don't always follow that formula, so
Mm-hmm.
it's more freedom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how are things going in terms of your ability to get the word out about your books and sales and things like that?
I think it's difficult to market and to get the word out. It's constant. Marketing is a constant around the clock thing, trying to find different avenues and see what works and what doesn't. It's a constant thing, but I do like getting advice from different people and seeing what works. I even got a woman on Fiverr, and she offered someone who could help me to market it even better for a reasonable rate. So I'm gonna try that as well.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to check out Books Go Social and see if that can help you in some way. There's other things too. Have you ever heard of Publish? You familiar with that? Publish is a platform that you can do it. You can list one book, I believe, for free. The paid version is, I think, $99 or something, which would allow you to list all your books. It's a really neat platform because the end user, what they see is something that looks like an open book with your picture, bio links, share links, an insight, and what they call a bubble. The bubble is an excerpt of a piece of your book that you've uploaded to their site, and it's secure. And then the insight is what you said about that bubble. And so you can tweet these bubbles, you can Facebook these, you can share them in email, and it's really cool, really neatly organized. You can write your book on their platform and then do rough cut bubbles so people see what you're doing as you're writing, kind of like Wattpad in a way from that regard, but it just looks really neat. So it's a fun platform, and that's one that I've been using. And the key I find with marketing, of course, is consistency. Got to be consistent with it. And so I've been able to test that. I've been using Publish for over a year and had really fun results with that. I mean, watching numbers and watching stats. I mean, it's been an effective tool for me. I can tell you that. Okay. That combined with a really clear understanding of categories and keyword phrases, those two things have made a huge difference. Specifically with one of my books, Deadly Sins, my very first miniseries book, I saw incredible changes with that when I made some of those tweaks and started using Publish, and that was last year that I started doing that, and it's still okay. It's still doing what it needs to do. So that would be some stuff to check out. Does anyone have any questions for Skylar about her writing and her poetry? Because I know that I saw on your Twitter thing you do poetry. But while we wait to see if they have any questions. So the multicultural panel that we did yesterday, what attracted you to that? Why did you want to do that panel?
Well, I am really interested in seeing African Americans in books, and there actually was a show that I watched the other night, and it was Black Girls Rock, and there was a little girl on there, and she was saying that there isn't enough African American in books, and so she started, I guess, going around and getting trying to get donations, and people started donating books to her that had African American children in it. And so it's a real encouragement for us to see, for people in general, to see their own selves in books, to see, ourselves on screen or in books or wherever. It's an encouragement to know that you're normal, you're a human being, you function, and
you're part of
you
society and you count, and
right.
all those things. I know about that little girl that you're talking about. That was a great story. That was out. I don't remember her name, but I remember seeing the story. I know for me, the multicultural panel, it was a similar thing. I like talking about diversity in publishing, and specifically diversity in publishing when it's talking about children, but also just the industry generally speaking, not the bookstores, the editors and the publishers and the acquisitions people and all that. If you don't have any people of color in any of those important roles, you're not going to get a lot of books published that feature people of color or people with disabilities or lesbians or homosexuals or any of that stuff.
Right.
If they're not represented actually in the industry. And that's part of the problem. They're not represented there. And so I thought that was really interesting, the conversation yesterday. What else? What are the thoughts that you have on the multicultural panel, since other people can go watch the panel now because I know it's available somewhere? What all thoughts did you have from participating with it?
I liked it. I like the open conversation, and that to know that other people feel the same, and even though they're not the same race, they still they understand, and they can, because even like the host of the panel, could even relate from her experience. So, I really enjoyed and could relate.
So where can everybody find your books?
Right now it's on Amazon, and Forbidden Acts is on Amazon and Smashwords. But I'm thinking about taking it down from Smashwords because I want to do some free promos on Amazon with Forbidden Acts. So I might take it down from Smashwords. So because they usually don't allow you to.
They don't. If you're in KDP Select, you can't do that.
So.
But I would encourage you to do some research on KDP Select to see if you think it's going to be worth your time to go exclusive for a 90-day period, because that's what's going to happen. I don't know if you thought, is this the books you've written? Are we talking series here?
No, they're not series.
Oh, so they're standalone.
Yeah.
So okay. So I was thinking, well, if you made, and you could still try this, but if you made one of them perma-free and made the other one not, that might be a way to get some traction. And that's something that people who write series do on a regular basis. They'll make the first one perma-free, but the only way you can make it perma-free is if you have it at Smashwords. You might be able to do it through Draft2 Digital, but I know you can do it through Smashwords because you set it at free there, and then eventually it shows up free at the other platforms, and then Amazon, you tell Amazon, oh, by the way, it's free over here, here, and here, and then they'll let you change it and make it perma-free on their site. And so that can be it's a loss leader, but it's a magnet, to get people in. But I know that that's what series writers tend to do. I don't know how well it works or would work for a standalone book. Something to try. Oh, and have you, for everybody watching, I don't know if you've looked at this, KD ROI and KD Pulse are two tools that I use, and I started using them, I think, a month ago or something. Really cool tools. Are you familiar with either of the KD? No. Okay, you're gonna love this, people. This is really cool. Okay, so I bought both of these, and I've mentioned before, I'm frugal. I don't like to spend a lot of money. I like to find the things I think are useful and work. Okay, so KD ROI was put together by the same guy who put together Kindle Spy, which I didn't buy. But KD ROI, what you do is you can, let's say I put my book at 99 cents, which I did recently. Hush is 99 cents all weekend long. So you can get the first book in my series for 99 cents. Well, then I went to my Amazon page and I clicked on my KD ROI little button at the top because it's a Chrome extension, and a window pops up. And now I can send that promo to a bunch of sites and they will start to promote it for me. And you can do it if it was a free promo. There's more sites you can send it to, or it could be a 99-cent promo. And then there was one more, but I can't remember what it is. So I have this 99-cent promo, and it goes out to, a handful, maybe 19 different sites like BookSends or whatever, to promote my deal. And it pre-populates most of the fields when you click on this thing. It's awesome. It's totally awesome. And then they send you emails and let you know what your next steps are. In most cases, you don't have to do any next steps with these different sites, which is cool. But then you can track to see what's going on. Now, the interesting thing that happened, I also have KD Pulse, and KD Pulse allows you to bring in all of your data from your Kindle, from your Amazon sales, right, from Kindle, all of it onto one screen, so you can see all of your books, all of their rankings, what you have them listed at, and then you can see downloads, sales, and borrows, I think it is, all in one dashboard. Now, if you're using Kindle, you do an Amazon and all that, if you want all that information, you have to do a lot of clicking to get it, and you have to go all over the place to find it. This lets you do it all in one spot. So what I was able to do was I ran my first KD ROI promo, and then I tracked to see what was going on with that KD Pulse. And the thing I had the promo on, the book I had the promo for, nothing really happened with that book. But what was interesting was, at the time, I had 21 downloads of my free book in that period of time. So people didn't go and do the 99-cent book. They went for the free promo to get introduced to my character, which works just as well. I'm perfectly fine with that. That was cool too, right? So that's what these two things do. So that I just throw that out there for y'all. Check it out. KDR, I don't get paid by them at all. I just happen to like both those tools, and I've been playing with them for the last month or so or something. So there you go. But that's something to try, Skylar, is check that out and see what's going on with your books. It's pretty handy. Pretty handy dandy, actually. What categories have you put your books in?
Romance and new adult.
Are they in little subcategories, or are they just in romance and new adult?
Just romance and new adult.
Ooh, you might want to check that. Make some tweaks on your categories. Romance is a huge category, and it's really competitive. It's one of the most competitive categories for Amazon, actually, and beyond Amazon. So you might want to check and see if you can get into a subcategory, but not so specific that it's not competitive, if that makes sense. So you still see that there's sales happening. I'll give you an example. I recently tweaked one of my categories. My protagonist is biracial. And so I moved my books from one of the categories I had it in. I tweaked it and moved it to mystery thriller or mystery detective, something like that, African American. Moved it to that category. And I did it because I wanted to test numbers and see what would happen. And when I made that change within the category that was in before compared to the category that I just moved it to, it went from, let's say, 4,000 ranking in that category to 600. The ranking was 600 or something in the new category. So it's in a category that can sell, but it's less competitive than the one that it was in.
Right.
Is the thing. And so you can play with categories whenever you want to on Kindle. And it only takes less than 24 hours, at least in my experience, for them to change things. Yeah. That's been pretty consistent for me. And then keywords, what keywords are you using for your books?
Romance, love, like student and teacher for the Forbidden Act student teacher.
On keywords for Amazon, and this is true over on Smashwords too, but on Amazon, you have 7 keywords that you can use. They aren't keywords, they're keyword phrases. So it's not one word. So you could write, for example, I write mystery thrillers, right? So one of my keyword phrases might be something like the mystery thriller romance suspense. And I would do that because I wanted it to fall in a romance category that's called suspense, even though it's not strictly romance, but there's a romance in it. So it fits that. So I put that in there as a keyword phrase. So you have 7 of those. A lot of authors think I have just 7 keywords, but you don't. You have keyword phrases that you can use. And so if you go and type in the search on Amazon and start typing in things like that, you'll get suggestions on what your keyword phrases should be. And so that's one of the things that I learned to do, and it's one of the things that changed my ranking for my books, was learning how to do that keyword phrase stuff. So
Okay.
try that. See if that helps with some
Yeah.
of your books.
Yeah,
Tweak it a
thanks.
little. Just tweak it. Well, Siler, I'm so glad you were able to come here and share with everybody about your books. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Ireca3, IRECA3. That's my Twitter name, Twitter handle. And you can also find me on Facebook, I'm Skylar Nightingale. And I also have a website, and you can just look at Skylar Nightingale and to bring up my site. But
you can put that in the chat. Put your links in the chat. Ben, thank you for putting the link for KDRI in the chat, Ben. I appreciate that because I can't talk and do that all at the same time. I get all, confused and flustered. But Skylar, put your information in the chat so everybody can get a hold of you and find you and tweet with you and all that jazz. But thank you for joining me. I'm going to see if Charlene would like to join the chat. You're welcome to keep hanging out, or you can leave and just, lurk or whatever you'd like to do. But I'm going to bring Charlene into the conversation.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad you were here. And we'll get Charlene here. Hi, Charlene.
Hi, Corey. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm going to actually turn down my volume just a tinge there. Skylar, are you going to hang out, or do you want to back out? Or
I'm gonna get. I'll hang out and lurk and watch.
Okay. See you later.
How do I just hang up?
I hang up on you.
Okay. Bye.
Yes, I get to boot you out. It seems so impolite, the whole.
It's necessary. It's necessary. We all love to just keep going and keep going.
Sorry.
You'll have to boot me out, I'm sure.
Okay, so Charlene, welcome to the Back Porch Writer Show here on Blab. As I've told everybody, this is a special weekend for Brain to Book Cyber Convention 2016. First time I'm participating in it. Learned about it recently, and I thought, oh, this is fun. And Charlene, I don't remember. We've talked before, just so everybody knows. She and I have had a conversation before, but I don't remember. Is this the first time you're doing the Brain to Books?
Yes.
Cyber Convention? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't remember.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so tell everybody who you are and what you write. Go.
Ta-da-da-da-da, it's me. I'm on stage one more time. I love it. Cameras on me, microphones on me. I'm so great. Hello. Anyway, I got it out of my system. Is this a video or is this just audio?
It's video too, so move that over so we can see it.
This is called The Stain. This is my poster for The Stain, and it is the cover as well, which I'll show you. It's a little more convenient for me to flap the cover around.
What? That's really cool.
Thank you. Up here in Canada, in my area, there is a very, very large writing group, over almost 300 people, called the Writers Community of Durham Region. And one of our guys is very good at promo and publishing and doing tours and all of that. And so he had put it out, that Tom Taylor, that having one of these great big posters whenever you do a physical is a really, really good thing. It really looks good. So I got that one all together for that. But for my poor little nonfiction one, I only got the little cardboard set up here without even the words on it. Oh, my poor little orphan baby.
It's a neat picture, though.
It is. It's Medicine Buddha, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So The Stain, which is coming from, this is the book. It's easier for me to put it up here. Is a book about three women's lives. 1660s, Native American. Her name is Tani. 1890s, Mary in England, London, England. And Diana, contemporary Canada. And similar experiences. And eventually you kind of get to the gist of what that's about. It's about karma, reincarnation, and how we get hooked into something that is really deep from way back. And keeps repeating in its own kind of different, unique way. It's still repeating and repeating, trying to clear itself. And then, not to give any spoilers away, but one of them finds a way to clear it from all. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, very cool. You should tell people a little bit about your background.
Whoa, that can take a while. I am writing my memoirs. It's called My Impossible Life. My background includes, let me see, the short version. The sort of 1950s raising, which kind of had a requisite amount of abuse. You really had, if you weren't raised in if you were raised in the 1950s, there's going to be some form of abuse or another. That's just how we rocked in those days. And then I ran away. And then I was picked up by 2 armed robbers, and I spent 3 days as a hostage for them. And it was a horror story. You know, this is awful. Within a year, within several months of getting back from that, and how did I get out of it? I talked my way out. 2 men with shotguns who knew that I had witnessed a murder that they committed. Not very smart. I addled their brains. So this little tongue right here is a PowerPoint. Saved my life, I can tell you that. So then within about 7 or 8 months, I met this incredible human being. His Western name was Leslie George Dawson. He turned out to be from the same area of Toronto I was from. He was recognized by the Tibetans. Highest level of Tibetans recognized him. And what does that mean? It means that they said to him, you are one of our lineage teachers. You have reincarnated before. We know who you are. And he gave him all kind of things so he could do all kind of Tibetan ceremonies called initiations. So I caught up with him. I didn't really like him much, but I was really, as you can imagine, I didn't. You know, it wasn't this fairy tale. I met my teacher. I'm so in love. It was like, you bug me. I don't like you very much, but you're really interesting and really fascinating. So what do I have to learn about this, you know? And he was, you know, and I was kind of doing all the drugs and partying and alcohol that I could consume with a kind of romantic vision that I would be out of here by the time I was 25. Because I kind of went, well, you know, I've done my deal. You know, it's enough. It's enough. I've had it. So I'm just going to party till my body expires. And he kind of went, maybe not. And he, through a whole lot of really kind of fascinating mystical events, got a bunch of us together, and we traveled with him. And then what happened then was I spent 7 years traveling with him around the world, Europe several times. And we went to India. First I went to India. He wasn't there, but I met up with the group that were traveling with him. And then we went to Australia. And then I went into New Zealand. In India, I had been in a temple in the north of India. We'd all been in this temple by a man named His Holiness Sakya Trizing, one of the leaders of one of the 4 sects of Tibetan Buddhism. And we sat in the temple receiving what is called empowerment or initiation, which in my world at that time amounted to going in, sitting on the hard concrete floor, and watching them throw rice at us and sprinkle our heads with water off the end of a peacock feather. I had no idea what was going on, and none of us did. But we went along every day, and we were thinking this was supposed to be good for us, and it certainly started to feel really cool and really all right. And eventually we kind of put together what those empowerments were for. Then we went to Australia. I spent about 6 or 8 months there in the slums of Sydney and various other places, and had various adventures trying to make money and trying to do some of the meditation required to go into full retreat in New Zealand. And in New Zealand, we went for 3 months. Excuse me. So I managed to get to 21 hours a day of meditation. And the last 3 hours were not really sleep. It was a kind of other state. There was no talking. Yeah.
I'm struggling with 5 minutes of meditation. I'm not even joking. I am struggling with 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, and you were doing 21. Is that what you said?
Hours. 21 out of 24. But let me tell you what you're struggling with is you think there's a goal. You think there's something you're supposed to be able to do, which it's not true.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
When you sit to meditate, honey, just sit and just let your head do what it's going to do, because it's going to go all kind of crackers, fireworks, all kinds of things. And what you're learning to do is not move on that. You don't start out with a clear mind at all. None of us do. And even those of us who've been at this for a long, long time, a lot of it is just letting that stuff settle down. So that's all you do. You just let it all rock. That's his job. It's like a dog coming to the door and barking. The nature of the mind is to alarm you and alert you.
Right.
So what meditation does is exercise the other part of your brain, whose job is to relax you. And we don't have enough of that. That's why it's really healthy for us, because then it kind of balances out. But no, that'll make it a little easier. The other thing, though, to be honest with you, Corey, was we had no telephones, none of the electronic devices, of course. We had no TV.
Right.
We had no mail. We were in an isolated situation. 2 or 3 of us to a cabin and there was nothing else to do, literally. So we went to a class sometimes in the day or another Woncore in the evening. But a lot of the time we were just there day in, day out. And he was an incredible teacher. He was not a very nice person in many ways. I grew to love him very deeply. I did. In the last 6 years of his life, I realized that I was as problematic for him as he was for me. And it had never occurred to me that that was the case, because I always saw myself as such a nice human being. So easy to get along with. Who could argue that? Such a little sweetheart, right? And he's like, oh my God, she comes to get argue with everything I say. I know she will. It was hilarious, but we became quite good friends in the end and had quite a good time. Took 35 years, told me a lot about relationships, what you have to do to build them. He was a great teacher, though, and he taught us, one of the things he kept saying is, this is your time now. This is your time to meditate. You may never get this opportunity again. This is your time. This is your time to meditate. Make sure you work at it, take care of it, and get into it. Get as much as you can done. And so we did, and it was really good. And then we traveled, and all kind of experiences happened. And I was gone 2.5 years. After, including that trip to India and Australia, New Zealand, and went around the world. And then after that, taking 3 months a year and going off and traveling and so on. So that will be most of what My Impossible Life is about. I may do it as a series, and then do the second series will be about living in Boise, Idaho, and going to school there. Yeah. What? You know, people who organize their lives, that's a good question. But people who just kind of keep living them and getting overwhelmed, they go, well, I ended up in Boise, Idaho. Of course I did. I didn't know
there. I've been there. We drove, in 2009, we drove to Canada we're near Fremont, Nebraska. So we drove from here to Canada twice in our truck, and that was a fun ride. So we ended up going through some places I hadn't been. I've been to a lot of the states, but not all of them. And so I hadn't been to that area. I haven't been to Montana. Now I have been to both of those places.
Right. I love it. I sincerely love Idaho. It is, and it was for me, an extraordinary healing place, a real power place, and a place where I did all kinds of fun, exciting, interesting things. Raised my son till he was 10 years old at that time. And we came back to Canada. But I got nothing but good things to say about the American West for that reason. And American people, who are in general much warmer than Canadians. But having said that, I really want you to buy my book. I want you to just get out there. Whether you're American, Canadian, English or not, you're going to enjoy the book. It's a good book. I went to school there. I got a double master's degree in English and education. And I did a huge amount of really deep healing because of those early events. They were still tagging me, still hanging on. So I had to really, really work hard. And I did, and that was great. And see, what else can I tell you? Moved back here.
The stain, where is it available? Since we're talking about that one first, so where is it available? Soulsciences.net.
That's it, www.soulsciences.net. That's the easiest and best place to go. It's my website. And right from there on the right-hand side, you'll see excerpts from the books. You'll see the book covers. You'll go there, you tack onto them, and they'll show you how to get to the book to buy it. Mm-hmm. And this weekend, the e-Kindle ones are on for free, I think. There's some kind of a deal going on. Someone will tell me eventually what the deal is, but it's a deal. So go out and get it. Yeah.
That's all that matters. She's got a deal going on for the stain, and you need to check that out.
Yeah.
There's a deal.
That's it. Get the deal. You got to get the deal. Get in on the deal and do the deal.
Exactly.
Right? That's what we're all about. We're all about the deal.
You've got, the other book is nonfiction, and it's Medicine Buddha, Medicine Mind. And I know you started to, I don't know if you've recorded the whole thing yet, but I know I went over to your site and started to listen to some of the recordings that you did over there. And I haven't been able to finish all of them yet. But I did really enjoy the first part of what I was listening to. I will tell you that. I so wish I could have it as a podcast on my phone.
I'm working on that. I put it up on Lipsid, and I put it out after I talked with you, two shorter episodes. I think I did 15 minutes instead of a half an hour, 15-minute, two of them. But I don't know if they've translated over to the things you'd need to get them on your phone.
Like iTunes and Stitcher?
Yeah, I
use
think
Stitcher.
they're on. I think they're on iTunes, but and Stitcher I have to get involved in. Yeah, Stitcher's the one I have to jump into. Yes, I will. Thank you.
I can't do iTunes on my phone.
Yeah, I will get them on Stitcher. It was just I got sidetracked with. I teach meditation, and I work with people who are in struggle or in conflict. They come to see me, and I work with them on their dreams. The last time I did a dream retreat, it was about 20 years ago, and I did one on my own for a year. And basically all I did was a form of breath work called deep release breathing and look at my dreams and really work with my dreams for a year. And that was really powerful again and very, very healing. And so, that kind of part of life is what really occupies a lot of me, which explains why I don't really understand.
Sorry. When you're looking at dreams, when you say you're doing that, are you keeping a dream journal and analyzing is that what you're doing?
What I'm doing is talking back with my dreams, I would call it, or dream reading. So I keep a very strong journal, and I was dreaming because of the quiet of my life. And because I needed to do this, I was dreaming really large dreams, and a lot of them had very archetypal content, and some didn't. Some were very, very personal. But I was really connecting close to that part that brings the dreams. So one of the things we never question is, what part of us brings the dreams every night? Something's bringing the dreams. And I think it's a supra-human consciousness that we all have access to. And so I would get the dreams and I would look at them just about every day. I'd spend 2 or 3 hours reading the dream and trying to feel through what each of the images is. What I would look at what classically it might mean, and then I would think about what it meant for me and work through what the feelings are in my body as I would be working through these images, because I'm very much involved with working with the body. The body is our refuge, it's our shelter, and it's our vehicle while we're here. So we have to really learn to be in the body. And I was astonished between then and now, it's been about almost 20 years I've been working with people's dreams, how specific the dream world will be in bringing us information about all kinds of layers of life. You sort of think, oh, well, dreams, that's just to do with your psyche or your mind or something. The dream will bring information about your finances, about your dog's health, about your own physical health, about your relationships, about your aspirations, about your career. There is nothing. About people that you love who you're not close to, you haven't seen them, maybe they live far away, but you love them very much. The dream will bring you information. It's astonishing, the level and the depth at which the dreams will provide us. And it's every single night we have this, and we seem to just throw it away like, well, what's all that about? I don't know, and it's, to me, so sad, because it's such a beautiful enrichment treasure every single night that can help us.
I noticed that there seems to be periods of time where I have more dreams than other times. And there's times where I just don't even remember the dreams,
That's right.
But I did, when I was married before and went through divorce. And so I was really paying attention to my dreams during that period of time, because I thought some of them were just goofy. They were just wacky. And so I was keeping a dream journal and trying to process through all of that, and it was amazingly helpful. And I had I been paying attention to my dreams way before that, it probably could have saved me a lot of headache, quite frankly. But it was helpful to do that.
Yes, because one of the things that the dream world will do, whoever's dreaming us will bring, is if we're struggling hard in the day life, which a lot of people are, it will bring us what's called a compensation dream. So maybe you'll dream something very funny, clowns and mischievous things going on, just to remind you that's part of life too. Because every dream you have affects the neural chemistry in your brain in the same way as if you were here experiencing it, except that there's no karma. So if you really need to hurt someone who's been a real jerk to you, you can do it in your dreams and it's not going to affect your life. There's no karma to it, but you get the same release or the same satisfaction in a positive way. If you really need to have something that uplifts you, makes you feel more joyful about life, you'll get that incredible dream that just makes you wake up feeling like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can keep going, because the dream world is continually balancing our neural chemistry, our biochemistry, the hormones, all of it, as well as our and that of course affects our attitudes. So it's an incredible exploration. I really am happy to be able to do it.
The other night I had a horrible dream. It was horrible. And I say that because it had spiders in it, and I'm terrified of spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And in the dream, someone picked up a spider and threw it at me. And that woke me up. It woke me up at 4:15 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep.
Where did it land?
I think on my chest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not go back to sleep after that. I was trying to breathe. I was doing the whole,
Mm-hmm.
but and it wasn't a particularly large spider, but it doesn't matter because I'm terrified of spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And even now, I'm talking about it now because I don't know what that was all about. I was like, why?
That's right.
And that's the only thing I remember in the dream. I remember there were other spiders. I remember there were other things happening. The only thing I truly remember is that this person picked it up and threw it at me, and that woke me up, and I couldn't go back to sleep. Can
I be very direct with you on air, or should we talk about it afterward?
Why is it really bad?
No. Some people prefer not to.
Oh my God.
No, it's not really bad at all. I just afterward. Okay, I'll make the decision then because you're laughing. So we'll do it afterward. I'll chat with you about that for a little minute, and that'll be fine.
You gotta tell me now. I gotta know now.
Right. First of all, to understand that when we have what's called a traditional nightmare, one of its functions sometimes is to again release held tensions so that our brains can actually function better. And if you watch after a nightmare and you're not thinking about it, the next day feels pretty good. You'll be clear. However, in this case, I would suggest that I would say get a mammogram.
Really?
Mm-hmm. When's the last time you don't have to tell me, but just think about it. Is it time? Do I need to go and get that checked out? Yeah, I'd do that. I'd do that thing. Yeah. Just to kind of get it figured out. A little bit of health care and make sure that all that whole system is doing well. And that means what you're doing is you're paying attention to the dream world in such a way that now the dream world can bring you a less intense dream because it's trying to get your attention on something. And we don't really know what or where to start. But I would say right away, from my background with dreams, I would say, well, yeah, that's the first place I'd start. And it's not a bad thing to do anyway.
Right.
So go and get it done if it hasn't been done for a while.
I do it every year.
There you go. And talk to your doctor a little bit, and watch your health. Make sure you're not feeling tired underneath or overextending or whatever. And then what that does is, I say, it signals back to the dream world, okay, I am paying attention. What other information do you want to bring to me? And then you keep moving with that information until it becomes more and more subtle. And the dreamer can tell you, oh, this is what, you need to face some of these fears a little bit.
Yeah, well, I this makes sense because I hate going through the mammogram. I do. I don't enjoy it. And I was supposed to do it in March. And so that's why I'm laughing.
That's
makes
all.
sense. This
coming home then.
Right now.
Yeah.
I didn't go, and I was supposed to go, and now I have to go.
And that is
exactly
it. You don't muck with it. Go ahead and get it done.
Spider. Got my attention.
I love the dream world. Dream world is so amazing to me.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, so now I'll make the appointment.
Good. I'm very happy. That is important. You got to take care of your health.
I know. I go every year. Like I said, I do drag my feet on it though, but I do go every year.
Yeah.
So
you got to go.
That's helpful. That was really helpful. So this book that you have, like I said, I want to listen to it as an audiobook because that's the way I like to consume that kind of content. But it is available as a book. So tell everybody a little bit what it's about so they know why they should go pick it up.
I've been having fun playing with this over the Brain to Books Cyber Convention weekend when people have asked me about this. I said, okay, so I'm going to tell you what it's about and how people's eyes start to glaze over 2 or 3 words in. So it's about Tibetan Buddhist Vajrayana Tantra meets neuroscience. And by the time I get past Tibetan Buddhism, people are like, oh my God, I'm falling asleep. Please don't do this to me. So we make a joke about it. We have fun with it. But what it is, I used the Tibetan Buddhist symbol of Medicine Buddha. Now, this is the Medicine Buddha guy right here. This is what he looks like. And when you meditate on Medicine Buddha, this is one of the figures that you would take in and start building from the base to the top or the top to the base. And that means you keep practicing your visualization, practicing the visualization. So what are we doing? I did this for 35 years and never, I kept thinking, I know I feel better. After every meditation, not everyone, but I would go, you know what, that meditation, I know I feel better. Am I imagining this? I started reading neuroscience. Now, when I say I started reading neuroscience, I just started reading the fabulously accessible books like Norman Doidge's book, The Brain That Changes Itself, or his second book, The Brain's Way of Healing. I read Marco Iacoboni's book, Mirroring People. I read Jeffrey Schwartz's book with Sharon Begley, The Mind and the Brain. There's a whole series of books that I read that are very accessible for people. But what drove me was I instantly knew this is why that kind of meditation works. So although I use Medicine Buddha, and I give a lot of examples about why I do in the book, you can use any positive form. You could use the Mother Mary. You could use Martin Luther King. You could use Mahatma Gandhi. You can use anybody. And if you are continually doing that, every single time you do it, you are changing the structure of your brain, and you're changing the way your brain functions for the better. So ultimately what happens is, in meditation, there's something called frontarizing. So you put the figure out here, a little bit above your head, and you meditate visualizing it up here. There's another point where you turn around and you become the figure. So I would become Medicine Buddha. And what you're practicing, as much as the actual physical attributes, the colors and the robes and the thing in the bowl and the whatevers, where the hands are, you're practicing serenity, calm, detachment, and a great sense of wanting to heal and help others. And so as you practice that continually, what there is evidence for is that you change yourself from the person who is, in my case, a little bit self-absorbed, narcissistic is probably not too hard to go for. Hysterical, all kind of like PTSD, coming out of the experiences that I had, you see. But developing into a much more strong, centered personality, able to adapt more quickly into that, okay, without thinking about it, just okay. I'll give you an example. It struck me the other day, I was kind of pleased. I was in the grocery store and I was kind of walking a little bit unmindfully, a little bit quickly. And my cart knocked into the cart of a woman who had her baby right in that part of the cart. And I immediately looked and the baby was fine. Now, Mama's face had already turned 15 shades, and I stood back and instantly went, I'm not going to take it in, but she needs to say these things. And I looked in her face and I said, go ahead, it's okay. I said, no, it's all right. And she took in the energy I was giving her, which was total permission and space. I said to her, if I had a baby and this happened, I'd feel the same. I said it real quick, real slow, real low, so it wasn't attracting any attention. And then she said, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. And she walked away. That's only possible in my life because I've done this kind of meditation enough to feel like I want other people also to have their space, to have their emotional responses. And I need to be centered in it without taking it in. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised actually at my own instincts to, no, I'm not taking this in. I can put that energy down on the floor. It's not going to touch me. Mm-hmm. Other times I have to open myself and then the energy comes in. That's a very different experience. But those subtleties are only possible in my experience since and because I've done so much meditation. And now neuroscience is telling us how. So now we know that neuroscience is really backing us in terms of the mindfulness meditation, giving us all kinds of information scientifically coming out of Richard Davidson's lab at University of Wisconsin at Madison. He's a student of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There's almost nothing being done about visualization techniques. And so I wanted to put this little offering out there. So that's my book. Go ahead and buy it. It's a really good book. Go ahead, take a read. It's really easy to read. It's not hard to read or to listen to. So I do have the other ones, all of them up on my website. Mm-hmm. But I'll get them up on Stitcher. Mm-hmm. That's what I should do. I need to get them up on Stitcher for you.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Yes, I'll do it just for you. I promise. You'll be my inspiration. It'll help.
It's one of those things that I love to read, especially that kind of book. It's just, I don't have enough time in the world to do it. I need to be able to do it a different way. And then I'll get through it faster, and I'll probably listen to it more than once. And then I'll,
That's right.
You mentioned a lot of books and things. Do you have these other authors that you read about brains, you said they're accessible and things like that. Do you have a list of those on your site or anything, or can you?
I don't, but you know what? I could easily put one up there. It's really not hard to do. There are so many great books up there that are just so accessible to read about neuroscience. It's just a fabulous idea to put a list up there. I could maybe put it under events or something like that, or maybe, I don't know, I'll figure out a place to put it.
Resources about the brain. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know?
Yeah, that would be great, because that's really helpful for people. And I wish people would read these books, because they're so simple to understand. Norman Doidge's books are full of examples from people that he's worked with, or people he sought out, or other experiences. And it's fascinating stuff, like the world of physical pain doesn't have a correlate in our brains. Just very quickly, there's a man named Dr. Michael Moskowitz, who was is a psychiatrist and a pain specialist. And he was going 40 miles an hour behind a boat on a tube, and he fell over and hit his neck. 10 years of chronic pain, more and more painkillers, more and more painkillers. That's all we do. We don't know what to do with it, right? So he's a scientist. So after 10 years, he goes, well, nuts to this. He's still taking his painkillers, but he goes over and starts studying neuroscience. He reads about 1,500 pages, he figures, of neuroscience. And what he discovers is there are 8 different centers in the brain, at least, that light up in the instant of pain. But every one of those centers has another use. So what he did was he drew 3 different pictures of his brain, one of them completely healed. Because one of the parts of the brain that registers pain also works with spatial visuals. So he thought, okay, see, in neuroscience, there's this mantra. It's neurons that fire together, wire together. Mm-hmm. The more you think something, the more you think it. The more you think it, the more you're likely to do it. The more you do it, the more it becomes your reality.
Right.
He said neurons that fire apart, wire apart, meaning I got to undo all these pain ones and start pushing it into spatial visual. So he started every day looking at these drawings. Every time he got in, he would do the pain, and he would just go to the drawing and start rerouting his brain. That's meditation. So when he did that, after a year and a half, 2 years, no more pain. He's a pain specialist. He had someone come to him who's a nurse in the emergency, or in intensive care, rather. Jan Sandin is her name. She's a small woman. She was dealing with a patient who was 280 pounds. The patient lost control of their legs and came down on Jan's neck like this, grabbing 280 pounds worth. 5 vertebrae at the bottom of the spine fused, crushed. Now that's true. You can see it on the x-rays. Can't do anything. Give you the painkillers, give you the painkillers, give you the painkillers. 10 years later, she can't read. She can't watch TV. She can't do anything. She's got no life. She goes to Michael Moskowitz. He tells her his story. He says to her, take these 3 home and look at them, 20 minutes a day, 3 times, 20 minutes schedules. She does an intensive. She says, I got nothing else to do. I'm sitting here for 12 hours a day. She does a meditation on these within a year and a half, pain-free. I'm sure she has some restriction of mobility, but her life is back. So and what I say with all of this physically is that the other side of it is that we do that emotionally. We hang on to the emotional pain that is now a ghost.
Right.
It's no longer accurate. It's no longer giving us information, but we're still looped into it. We're still finding proof that that's the case. We got to drop all that and go into being more emotionally free. So that's how I did it. That's what I wanted the book to try to inspire people toward in their own research and in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. It sounds awesome. It just sounds like such a great book. And like I said, the part that I listened to already, I already know I like it. So I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So
I get it up for you.
You need to go get her book, read her book. It's right there. I love the cover.
It's sweet.
It's a nice
Reynolds.
It's one of those books that if I was in a bookstore, I would be getting that book because I like the cover.
You.
I mean, it does its job.
Yeah.
It's doing its job.
Sue Reynolds. Sue Reynolds, independent, right close here. Just brilliant woman. Also did this cover for the state. Mm-hmm. But yes, please, everyone, go to www.soulsciences.net. There's some kind of a special deal on that I set up in another part of my brain. I can't remember what it is, but never mind.
Yeah,
never mind.
You'll find it.
Go ahead.
For Brain to Books CyberCon this weekend, do you have anything else going on that everybody should be aware of? Any takeovers or anything?
I'm not doing a takeover. I had from the double blah blah blah. tomorrow I'm teaching philosophy of yoga the whole day. I'm doing an intensive with the students who are training to be yoga teachers at my local place where I teach meditation. So I'm not unfortunately able to be there at all. And that was going to be the takeover day for me. But I am on a panel discussion this afternoon on the heroine's journey at 3:00. And I'm also on domestic violence panel at 5:00. And we had an amazing panel yesterday on memoir writing. So these panels, as you mentioned earlier in your discussion with Skylar, you mentioned about the multiculturalism panel. These panel discussions are so incredible and so rewarding. So I'd invite everyone to come in and ask your questions and check in with us. But the Brain to Books Cyber Convention, if you're a little late to the party this year, hang on, next year we're coming back. It'll be bigger and stronger. But do go and take a look at all the booths. Do go and browse and buy books and talk to authors and take advantage of it. Angela B. Chrysler is amazing. There's no other word for this woman. She's a human dynamo. And she's managed to pull up this group of people. Joe Compton is amazing. Yourself doing all these incredible perusing through the fairgrounds and having all the different writers on your program. A.F. Stewart, you're welcome. A.F. Stewart for doing interviews. Don and Jay Norrie, who are actually at a physical convention right now, but have taken parts of our cyber convention there to keep the connection going. And CeCe Rogers, who did the map for the fairgrounds, makes it very easy to get around. Right? Right?
I was like, how'd you do that?
I want to hire her. I want to map my life. Map my life. Make it easy for me to get around. Because
it was really cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And Aurelia Marie Casey, who has put together all of the panel discussions and has stood with them. And of course, as I said, Joe Compton, who's doing 74-hour live coverage. These are amazing people, and they're out there giving you a great experience. So jump in, get involved. And it's very welcoming. Everybody's welcome to come and get involved. And it's a super sweet group of people. Everybody's supportive. Everybody's gentle. Everybody's there for the same reason. People say, like, I really like you, but I'm disagreeing with what you're saying right now. And that's so sweet, right? I can live with that. Not like, hey, you're wrong. Just like,
it's like, you're really awesome, but I don't agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Such respect, right? I love it. It's been a really beautiful experience for me, and I'm taking away a lot of really good friends. I know there are people that I feel like I've connected with in my heart, and I want to take that out to a wider group next year. My calling is to bring in memoirists, people who are going to write about their memoir. I'd love to have a larger showing next year for the memoirists. So if you're a memoirist, get in touch with me at www.soulsciences.net and let me know your interest in coming on next year, and we'll see what we can do to grab a place for us all.
Yeah, and when you check out her website, Charlene also, she didn't mention this, as she was saying all the things that all of us have been doing, but she also did interviewing of several of the authors, and including Angela, who organized this entire event. It's her second year doing it. It really is amazing. I look at it and go, how in the world are you doing this? It's just, she's the one who said to me, Corey, I have an idea. You should start a Goodreads group. And I went, what?
Yeah.
And so then I did. And so it's slowly growing. It has 8 members. But I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
I wrote it down. I'm going to join.
She's the one who did it. It's Indies at Back Porch Writer on Goodreads. I couldn't think of a better name. So if somebody has a better name for it, then great. But I was like, well, it's associated with Back Porch Writer, but only because that's the name I could come up with.
Sure.
But it was her idea. She just comes up with these ideas and throws them out there, and just like, hey, you should try that.
But I just heard you doing the same thing with Skylar about KDROI and about all kinds of different advertising things. And I thought, how incredibly impressive. You're there just helping us all. By helping one person, you're helping us all. I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff that you were saying. It was awesome. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You. It's all that's one of the reasons why I love this stuff. So many people go, you do what? And how do you do that? What do you mean that worked? I can't get that to work. Like, I had never tried Goodreads ads. Now I have to go check it out.
Exactly.
I have to see.
Exactly.
So absolutely. Skylar's like, yes, thank you. You're welcome, Skylar. But that's one of the things that's so awesome, because you're so isolated as an author, and it's so great to be able to, it's why I started Back Porch Writer. It's why I do Indie Author Hour. It's why I wanted to do this, because it's a way to connect with everybody and share information in a more efficient way.
More efficient and more warm. It's just a lovely way to do it. And I love, as I was saying to Joe Compton, You got me in my pajamas at my house. I don't have to leave. I'm in. I can have my coffee. I can go take a look out the window. I'm your girl. Physical conventions, I get overwhelmed, but this is something I can handle a little bit.
This is pretty cool to do this. So I'm looking forward to it next year already, because then I can keep this on my schedule and do this in bigger and better, like you said.
Exactly.
So, Charlene, thank you so much for being here on Back Porch Writer Show, here, our special event. Feel free to, everybody pop back in. I've got more later today. Joe, that you mentioned, Joe Compton, he's coming on at 3 to chat about everything he's doing. And then I've got Angela coming on at, I gotta leave my schedule, 6 is Angela. And then I'm doing a takeover event at 7 over on Facebook. So from 7 to 8, I'll be over there. I need to go get organized. I don't have everything.
You'll do it. You'll be great. You'll be
ready. So
all right.
I'll just wing it. I got a lot of stuff ready, but not everything. Thank you, Charlene. Have so much fun and a great time tomorrow with your other event. That sounds awesome.
With the philosophy of yoga teaching. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great group, and I've got the materials, so I'm really honored. It'll be fun. But thank you for that, and thank you for this opportunity one more time. It's great, Corey. Thank you. I look forward to having you on my show as well.
Have a great day.
You too.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That's it for now. I want to thank you so much for joining me and all of the other authors here on the Back Porch Writer Show live on Blab. And of course, it's all because of the Brain to Books Cyber Convention that's happening on Goodreads and Facebook and Blab all weekend long. And as you heard many of them say, there are several things going on, so be sure to check them out. If you go over to the Goodreads page, you will find the fairgrounds, and everything is listed there, so you can find the schedule for all the different blog hops, takeover events, cover awards, all of it. There's a lot. So thanks. I will be back at 3 o'clock this afternoon talking with Joe Compton, who is doing the 70-something hour coverage of the entire weekend. So, and he's not getting much sleep. So that'll be really fun when we talk at 3. We'll see how he's doing. See you later.